I say figure out what you think is best for you and try that. Part of it's a matter of age. At my age now, you make more conservative investments. Younger, you make bolder investments that could pay big dividends if it cashed in well. But a mixture of things that have a chance to have some good growth. But I think you have to decide your own aversion to risk, whether or not you can really tolerate it. I remember when those discoveries started coming out, if you paid off your home in 15 years instead of 30, by adding what, one more payment a year, some simple plan, you saved more than the price of the house. Everybody said, whoa, just with some better information. Now, some people really don't care as long as their payments are low. They'll pay the extra price of the house just because the payments are low. And that's one philosophy. But it's not a good one. And if you're got credit cards, right, that are at 14% and 16%, if you pay off those, it's hard to find an investment, especially these days, that'll pay that kind of return. So paying off your credit cards, and paying off your home in 15 years instead of 30. Of course, now you can buy a home, get a 15-year mortgage. You know, why not save? Why not be prudent? Why not be careful? It's good practice. Even if you're rich, it's just good practice to be as prudent as you can, not to be stingy, not to try to cheat somebody, but to do wise things with your resources. Two things, the big challenge in Life Adventure 1, the full development of all of your potential, that's number one. Second is the wise use of all your resources, including your money and your time, which are two of the major resources, how to use your time and how to use your money. But teaching kids proper philosophy, it's important not to have a savings account. It's important to have an investment account. Just to change in terminology, it's the same money, but it depends on whether you put it in an investment account or a savings account. All kids need is just one or two little lessons, and they can say, well, it'd be a lot better to put it in an investment account instead of a savings account. I mean, that doesn't take 10 years of college to figure out. Sometimes you got to have some help. Go to somebody and say, look, here's how deep I'm in, and here's the real deal. What could I do? Find somebody who's got some good alternate plans. If you go this way, it's a bit severe. Maybe the family can't quite tolerate that severe a program. For the future, here's one a little better, but it'll just take a little longer. Because there's nothing more exhilarating, really, in terms of self-worth and self-esteem than just getting started. At least I'm not in reverse anymore. Who was it that said that if you're in a hole, stop digging, right? At least stop where you are and see if you can't now build a ladder, the best one you can design at the moment, with some help. But I think if it's a matter of finances, and if you're overwhelmed and you've gotten in trouble with credit cards and all, I'd find somebody who knows some pretty good strategy for getting out of it. They've even got some programs, right, that'll hold off the collection people, not to go bankrupt, but just to give you, if they're convinced that you've gotten a new plan, rather than push you into bankruptcy, there's some places you can go that'll help you sort of rearrange your whole portfolio and start digging your way out. And it's surprising, once you start making progress, you get excited about it. The numbers don't have to be huge and big, as long as you're making progress. And I came up finally with the 70, 10, 10, and 10. Don't spend more than 70% of your income. 10% for church or charity. 10 cents active capital, buy and sell, see if you can make a profit. And 10% for passive capital, let somebody else use your money. Pay you interest, dividends, stock increase, whatever. It's a pretty good plan, 70, 10, 10, and 10. A lady in Mexico the other day said, I heard your plan 10 years ago. I followed it. She said, I'm now a millionaire. I own 2 different properties because you also said don't buy the second car until you've bought the second house. It's not cars that make you rich. It's real estate that makes you rich. She said, I'm now about to buy the 3rd house, so I'm now giving myself the luxury of buying the 3rd car. Simple little ideas. And she said, I followed the 70, 10, 10, and 10, taught it to other people. They're following it and getting great results. One thing I didn't know when I was growing up and found out at age 25, that you could work both on your living and your fortune at the same time if you had a good plan. Don't just work on your living, work on your fortune. Work on becoming financially independent. Financial independence is the ability to live from the income of your personally invested resources. And the day you can finally do that, what's exciting about that is that now you can work for joy and not for necessity. And strangely enough, you probably work a lot harder for joy than you do for necessity. I have a unique friend. He started an enterprise, and by the time he had it up and running about 2.5, 3 years, he didn't have to work anymore the rest of his life. So now he's financially independent. But then he created a vast fortune, that next 20 years of his life, simply because he was working for joy and not for necessity. So get to that position as quick as you can. So I'm now teaching, work both on your living and your fortune. The reason for earning a living is to make a fortune, not necessarily from your living, but from what you earn, invested wisely. I talked to a lady the other day. She said, "Mr. Rohn, I'm in real estate." I said, "Wonderful. How many properties do you own?" She said, No, I sell real estate." I said, "Well, let me ask you one more time. How many properties do you own?" Finally got the message across. I said, "The reason for selling real estate is to earn the money to buy real estate. If you sell real estate, you make a living. If you buy real estate, you make a fortune." She said, "I got the message." So don't buy the second car till you've bought the second home. I started out, age 25, I'm working hard to make a living, and I found out how to start working on my fortune. That might not be for everyone, but you can turn part of your present income, if you think I've got to stick with a job for 30 years and retire, if that's your mindset and you want to do that, fine. But now you must wisely use the resources from that income to make a profit, even if you let other people use the money and pay you interest and dividends. If at least you do that, whether you buy and sell or not. But who couldn't? If you worked on a job for 40 years, why couldn't you buy a piece of property and sell it for more than you paid for it? Why couldn't you buy a home, sell it for more than you paid for it? Why couldn't you buy a piece of property that needs repair, find somebody to repair it, and sell it for more than you paid for it? Why couldn't you do that over the next 40 years, as well as work on the job and punch the clock and do your duty and retire as a faithful employee? Why not work both on your fortune and your living? Why not? If the least you did was to take part of what you've earned as a living and let someone else use it and pay you for the use, if you did that over 40 years, you would easily be financially independent, not from your job, but from your investments. Then if you can find other ways, because it's stimulating. Who was it said? Was it Eisenhower? Someone said, "Find a piece of property and leave it better than you found it." Just something. Claude Olney, who put together a program called "Where There's a Will, There's an A," became highly successful as an infomercial. He came to my seminars years and years ago before he put that program together, and he said, "I've got an idea. What do you think?" I said, "It's a winner." Sure enough, it made him millions. He made money on every car he bought because of the incredible way he took care of it and the way he made it shine and gleam, so that when he got ready to sell it, it was worth more than when he bought it. That was one of his projects. I'm going to make money on every car I buy. See, it just depends on your attitude and your philosophy. And the answer is, why not? Amazing. Two different people with two different attitudes. One lets it all go because it doesn't seem to make a difference. Another one says, "I make money on whatever I touch. Whatever I touch gets better. It doesn't get dirty. It gets better." A guy who owned a bunch of apartments said to me, "Most everybody leaves the apartment that they rent worse than they found it." I said, "You gotta be kidding." He said, "No. Some leave it trashed." I said, "Impossible." He said, "No." I said, "What a reputation. What I touch turns to trash instead of gets better." Amazing. But what if you had the attitude or the mindset I'm going to leave wherever I am, I'm going to leave it better than I found it. Not just what it did for the world, because it's a better place if you do that, but what it did for your psyche.